All right. First and foremost, give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Kakodash, the blindness to the elders and the apostles of great millstone who rule well and who was worthy to be counted for the blinders. Peace and salutations to your brothers out there pushing this truth wholeheartedly and sincerely and full of the gospel. It's your brother Gabari from the Indiana camp coming back at you again one of the sit down. And this is going to be another installment of etymology and of words. And as you see, we have the word grace right here. All right, so we're gonna get into this, and Lord willing, this is edifying to the body and edify the few brothers out there. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get straight into it. So the word grace, it goes into, it says God's unmerited favor, love, or help. It says pardoned, divine grace, mercy, favor, or thanks. All right, it says, yep, favor, esteem, regard, pleasing quality, goodwill, and gratitude. All right. Now, the Christian church, they always talk about, it's like, they always talk about how we're saved up under grace. We're saved through grace. They don't really actually know that grace, or a grace period, I should say, is really just the act of how can I sound to say, the act of getting something, getting something right, trying your best to getting something right. All right. See, if I give you a grace period, or if I give you grace on something, it doesn't negate the fact that I want to still see action. I still want to see improvement. All right. For example, if you're training up for a big test, or you're training up for a big race or whatever, and let's say you're not quite ready, or you're not quite there the day of the race, I might give you a grace period, or I might give you grace, which means what? Favor or gratitude, or what? A pardon, to get yourself ready in the next couple of days. So I said, okay, I'm gonna postpone the race for the next week, instead of, it's supposed to be today, but I'm gonna postpone it for next week. That is what grace is. All right. But you have what Christian church basically saying that grace is the reason why we don't have to follow the law, the reason why we don't have to keep the commandments, or we can go out here and just do whatever we want and just ask for forgiveness because we're saved up under grace. No, that's not what grace goes into. All right. When you look up what grace is and how the Lord shows his grace, which is grace is really just upon the elect, because the elect are the ones who's gonna try their best not to do not to do the wrong. But you got Christians, which it all goes back to sinning willfully. You got Christians taking that grace and applying it to, like, oh well, we don't need to do it because the Lord pardoned, or Lord, he's just gonna give us more time to get it right. No, matter of fact, the scripture says, I'm trying to find that. Here it is right here. And able to make grace abound. No, that's not it. This is Romans chapter 6 and verse 14. It says, for sin shall not have dominion over you, for ye are not under the law, but under grace. It says, what then? Shall we sin because we are not under the law, but under grace? God forbid. You see? So it says what? He says, so let's go back from the top. It says, for sin shall not have dominion over you, For ye are not under the law, but under grace. So, like I said, grace period is a time where, listen, you're not gonna get it perfect, but here it is. You're gonna get it. I'm giving you a chance to get it right. All right. So, Paul is saying, like, listen, we're not gonna be able. We're not up under the law, so we're not gonna keep it in its perfection, because while we're up under grace. But what then the next chapter says, or then the next verse it says, what then shall we sin because we are not under the law? See, so it's asking, say, Sam, just because we're not under the law, should we just basically do whatever the hell we want to because we are but we're up under grace? And it says what? God forbid, which means no. Which means no, you still have to keep the law, you still have to put forth an effort. You just don't say, "Oh, well, we're up under grace. We're under grace. That means we don't have to keep the law. We don't have to abide by the statutes, laws, and commandments." No, that's not what that means. You know, like I said, grace is a pardon or is a favor. It's something that you bestow upon a person if they don't have it all right then and there. You see, and that's, I'm using a carnal sense, but that is basically what the Lord is doing. You know, so He understands that what His men are not going to get the law in its perfection. That's why we're not up under the law. That's why we're up under the grace period right now. You see, that's why when the Lord comes back, He's going to save those men who actually took upon His grace. Which means what? They understood that they're not going to keep the law in its perfection, but guess what? They still tried their best. They still did the most of what they had. All right. It says, know ye not that to whom ye yield your members servants to obey, his servants ye are to whom ye obey, whether of sin unto death or obedience unto righteousness. You see? And the Lord created the law for what? Matter of fact, then that's the spirit. That's actually the scripture I actually wanted. Romans 6:1. It says, what shall we say then? Shall we continue in sin that grace may abound? You see? So should we just keep sinning until that we're thinking that grace? Let's look at the word abound, which means continue forever. That what? Superbound a thing, to exist in abundance, to increase. You see? It says to abound, abundance, to make increase, have over. You see? So what? Should we just keep thinking that sin is gonna? What shall we say then? That shall we continue in sin that grace may abound? And the answer is what? Verse 2. God forbid. How shall we live that? It says, how shall we that are dead to sin live any longer therein? Says, know ye not that so many of us were baptized unto Yahweh Mashiach, were baptized unto his death? Therefore, we are buried with him by baptism unto death, that like as Mashiach was risen up from the dead by the glory of the Father, even so we also shall walk in newliness of life. See, so we're not going to be able to keep the law in its perfection with this body, but when we get those new angelic bodies, we're going to be able to keep it perfectly. But right now, while we wait for that, what should we do? We should practice it. You know, it says what the in the place of drawing water in our captivity, there shall they rehearse the righteous acts of the Lord. So right now, what we're rehearsing, we're trying our best to be on point. All right, but we understand that we're in this flesh, we're in these chains of darkness, and we're gonna fall, we're gonna slip, we're gonna make mistakes. That's just that's just what it is. You're not gonna get it perfect. You're not gonna be on point 100%. You're gonna fall and you're gonna make mistakes. But what the point is that what you get up, you repent from that, and you don't do it no more. You see, ever since you came into the truth, you're supposed to be shaving off more and more of that old man. All right, and that old man is what was accustomed to doing sin. But by you being what newly created, a new creature created, you're supposed to be what? You're supposed to hearken into what? Righteousness. You know, you're not supposed to what? Be latched on to that sin. Let it go. All right. There's another one. What is it? Is it 7? Yep, here it is, verse 7, Romans chapter 7, verse 1. It says, Know ye not, brethren, for I speak that them that know the law, how the law hath dominion over man as long as he liveth. See, so what now we're not like it said in the previous chapter, we're not under the law, but that doesn't give us the reason to negate or to neglect what is written, what is the law written for. You know, the law was written to make us better. You see, like it says, what the law was given not to the righteous, but to what the whoremongers, the murderers. All right, basically those who don't know how to do right. That's why the statute, laws, commandments were created. All right, it was to give us a way of instruction onto how to live, and we're not supposed to ignore that or abhor it. All right. Now we, like I said, like I've been saying, we understand that we're not going to be able to do all of it. There's over 600 statute, laws, and commandments that we're supposed to keep, and we're not going to be able to keep all of them. But the ones that we can keep, the ones that we can do, we make sure that we do it with all our might. All right. So we understand that even though the Lord is not looking towards us to do it in its perfection, it still has a sort of how can I say, a sort of authority over us. You know, if the Lord told you not to do this, if the Lord told you to do that, if the law says this, if the law says that, and we're able to keep it, then guess what? The Lord's going to look for you to keep that. Let's go to that sin for willfully. Hebrews chapter 10 and verse 26, it says, For if we sin willfully after that we have received the knowledge of the truth, there remain no more sacrifice for sin. You see? So understanding that listen, if we understand that, listen, we understand that we got the right knowledge on a certain situation, and we understand that, hey, if you do that, that's gonna be sinning. You don't have no more sacrifice. You can't say, "Oh, I didn't know. I'm sorry." You know, you can't use that same old excuse. Well, I didn't know that was wrong. I didn't know you couldn't do that. Well, you received the knowledge. Once you come into this truth, you understand that. Listen, you can't just do anything that you want to do. You gotta filter your life through the scriptures. You know, it's because what you might be doing might be going off. It might be breaking the commandments, or it might be sinning. All right. Now understand that, like I said, we're up under grace. We have a period where we're in the Lord's we're trying to get in the Lord's favor, and the Lord's going to pardon certain things, because we should have been the type of lives we live, man. We should have been dead. The Lord should have been got rid of us. But like I said, we're up under grace right now. So the things that are written that some people, that some people died for immediately, if they did, we're not subject unto that right now. you know but just because we're not subject unto that doesn't mean that we should just say fuck it and just do whatever. you know Like for example, the Passover. Now certain brothers has to work on the Passover, or certain brothers has to cook or go out and pay bills or buy or do certain things on the Passover, you know. Now just because they can't keep the Passover in its I keep saying Passover. What the hell? The Sabbath. Slakia. Caught myself. Uh, 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 the Sabbath. Now, certain brothers can't keep the Sabbath in its entirety. Sometimes we have to, go out, pay bills, cook, or whatever, do what we need to do. Now, just because we do those things, should we not keep the Sabbath in its entirety? There's a lot that you're not supposed to do on the Sabbath. So let's say I have to go out and pay a bill, or let's say I have to go out and buy food for tonight, or let's say I have to go out and do something on the Sabbath. Or matter of fact, let's say I have to work. Let's say I have to go into work. So am I just gonna say, all right, well, if I gotta go into work, I might as well just do whatever, I might as well say fuck it. And if I can't keep it all, I'm not gonna keep none of it. Like, no, you do what you can. You do the parts that you can do. All right. And that's where grace comes in at. And like I said, man, the Lord's coming to redeem and save those that are trying. You get an A for effort. When you was in school, sometimes your teacher might give you a passing grade just because she know you tried your hardest. I've had that where teachers knew that I studied and I tried my best, and I might have been maybe 10, 15 points off from a passing grade. They still gave it to me because they say, listen, I seen you was in class, you was reading your book, you tried your best, you asked questions, and the questions that you did get wrong was tricky questions. They were kind of hard, and I wasn't really expecting nobody to get those, but because you tried your best, because you did so much, I'm still going to give you a passing grade. That's exactly what situation we're in, man. The Lord understands that we're not gonna do we're not gonna be 100%. But that effort in us just trying is enough to get us a passing grade. All right. So just because we're up under grace, don't mean we just do whatever the hell we want, you know? And that's where the Christians got it all wrong, because that's what they teach. Oh, we're under grace, we're saved by grace. Great, yeah, grace, the grace of the Lord. It's not what that's talking about, man. All right. So that's the etymology of the word grace. That's the real understanding of it. All right. Lord will help these videos edifying for you brothers. Until next time, shalom.